So you're gonna do Magic Legends is basically my first impressions. I am currently level 23, a little more than halfway to 23. Max level is 30. And I'm gonna say for a free-to-play game, it's not terrible for a free-to-play game. There's a lot of uh, stuff that you can buy in terms of the cash shop, but of course, if you choose not to go that route, you do not have to, because in the game there's actually a way where you can take the in-game currency that you've acquired from doing quests, and then you can turn that around and use that to buy Zen, which is basically the cash shop equivalent. And you can see all the currencies right here that exist within the game. So you have basically a way to purchase some of the stuff, for people who are like, oh, it's pay to win. Well, you want to grind out your heart, you can do that, and then basically never have to spend a dime on this game. With that said, I will say in terms of the questing or whatever it is, the questing is bland and mediocre. Very bland fetch quest. Go here, do this, kill this, talk to this person, come back, etc. Rinse, repeat. Now, the way, of course, that you acquire skills is that way. Either by doing the fetch quests or by doing some of these kind of they're called skirmishes. You have major skirmishes, you have minor skirmishes, and basically you get rewards. You'll gain basically the in-game currency, as well as the different schools have currency that you'll need to upgrade. So you've got a little bit of a base. You can upgrade that base, and basically as you acquire more of the currency, you're basically able to upgrade the base. And of course, upgrading the base makes it easier for you to upgrade, for example, your abilities, right? So as you level, you'll come across different quests or different linear sort of quests, and either from fighting mobs or from fighting bosses, you'll gain all these different cards, and the cards are basically your skills, and you put them here into your loadout. You've got a max of 12 skills. You can set them up however you want. Whether you're someone who wants to play with friends, you can do that. They have 3-man dungeons that you can basically do rinse repeat. You've got you can still have kind of like the Holy Trinity, where someone plays a tank, a DPS, and support. You can have pet builds, you can have dot builds, you can have direct damage builds, you can have support builds, utility builds, healing builds, etc. It's completely up to you how you want to play. They've got 5 different classes. There's going to be a 6th different class coming in, which is the assassin. On top of that, you have your equipment that you get basically from drops, from killing mobs, rewards, quest rewards, from doing dungeons. You've got also little riffs in the game that you'll hear, like an audio cue. It'll beep really softly when you first hear it, and then the closer you get to the rift, then it'll start to beep very frantically, much louder, and then eventually you'll come across the rift. It'll just open up in front of your face. You go in, and then that's another area where you gain artifacts. You'll gain artifacts like these, which are other slottable customizables. A lot of customization between your equipment, your artifacts. You've got your traits, and of course your skills that you choose to use. So there's a lot of customizations. With that said, I'm trying to keep this video very short. With that said, the combat feels clean. The game does not look next gen by no means. It looks, like an old school, not so new school, and it plays fine. I enjoy it. I enjoy going through the game. The game is entirely too easy. It feels like it's designed for like kids, right? In terms of fighting and killing the mobs, and at least in the overworld, at least for the most part, after 23 levels, there's only been one instance where the mobs were even remotely difficult. Now, with that said, you can, of course, when you go through, let's say, like, for example, let's go to the map. So you can click on these are basically, you've got the skirmishes, which are basically the overland sort of mini events that you'll get rewards from. As you walk around, you'll come across other mobs, but then eventually you'll come across these things right here, and these are basically like part of the story, but they can be repeated, right? So you can sit here, you can replay the missions as many times as you want, and then of course you can change the difficulty, right, as you can see right here, and that difficulty is basically based off of your character level, your loadout score. It's the same thing like in, for example, in Destiny, where you've got a gear score. That's basically what it is. It's basically your gear score. So if you want to get to the next level of difficulty, which just basically raises, it just raises one, obviously the difficulty, as you can see. Mobs have plus 360% more damage, as well as 480% more HP. And of course, you get a little bit more rewards. I particularly don't find that to be all that great, because eventually, as you go further and further, the mobs just become like bullet sponges, and that's not really all that enjoyable. The saving grace, I will have to say, for this game, hands down, would have to be the PvP. If the PvP in this game is ass cheeks, this game will fail 100%. Because the PvE is mediocre, the questing is mediocre, the combat is okay. Like the combat is good for what, in my opinion, the game was designed for, which should be PvP, right? Should be PvP. It's basically, you can walk around, as you can see. The mobs aren't exactly all that difficult to kill, as you can see. Those are mobs basically my level. Now, obviously, they do get a little bit harder depending upon the instant that you go to. So I will say 100% of the game has huge ability to customize how you want to play, right? The saving grace for this game will have to be hands down the PvP. Otherwise, like I said before, this game, it will fail because it does nothing exceptionally well. And so, in my opinion, the focus should be on the player versus player interaction, where you have all these little quests and you'll go through all these things. You kind of grind your way through the game. You know, eventually you'll go through, let's say that you've got a lot of different regions that you can go to. You've got different areas of the map. Sanctum is basically where the boss, not the bosses, where the NPC is for PvP. You click, you queue for it. And it's basically 1v1s. You're basically 1v1, and you'll see something like this. There'll be an NPC. You talk to the NPC and you say you want to do the dueling. And that's basically how that works. It's further up. I believe it's further up this way. There's like an auction house where you can buy stuff. But for the most part, the map is fairly blah. Eventually, it's called Your Realm, is basically your home base. And that's another way that you'll be able to gain access to other abilities as you kind of level up different aspects of your home base. It either makes it easier for you to level up the skills that you already have, or as you level up your base, you basically gain access, as you can see right here. This is your owned lands. And so basically, as these level up, which you get just basically from farming, where you can see right here, right, so you can build different structures. It tells you how much of each. When it says this, it represents all of them. You can see this right here. So for me to go to the next level, I would need 5,000 gold, as well as 750 of all of these. And that would basically be to upgrade my structure, and it tells you what the structure does. And then, of course, there's a couple of other things that you need that for as well, like, for example, the Arcane Shop, right? You can see that right here, where you can start another project. It tells you to upgrade your Arcane Shop to go from rank 1 to 2, and it tells you what the Arcane Shop does for you. So this is basically your base. Like I said, the PvE is okay. You know, the abilities, you've got a lot of flair and, you know, graphics and all that stuff. Fine. The game doesn't run exactly all that optimized. There is a little bit of lag. Sometimes I've experienced it maybe twice where I had so many particles on the screen and then my computer slowed down. It was like 2 seconds. That's about it. It doesn't exactly look all that fantastic. It plays really well. That by no means do I say do I not enjoy the game, but I will say that if the PvP in this game isn't the best part of the game, they'll have to invest so much amount of time to make the PvE portion of the game feel better that most people by that time will just end up leaving the game. Granted, it is free to play. There's a couple of things that you can buy to make your experience a little bit better. But hands down, the best part of the game should be the PvP. I haven't had the opportunity to test it out yet, as I've been basically leveling and figuring out different aspects of the games. But hands down, I always say that for this game to survive, it would have to really focus really hard on that player versus player experience and getting the risk reward portion down pat. Otherwise, more than likely, you're going to end up seeing this game die very quickly.